Hungarians celebrate the 15th of March as one of their national days. It's the start of the 1848-1849 uprising or revolution and war of independence. The whole thing took about 19 months. What I'm going to look at here is just the beginning. What caused, or what was the background of the Hungarian Revolution in 1848? It may not be exactly the way you see it in Wikipedia. First up, 1848 was the springtime of the peoples. All over Europe and South America, there were popular uprisings. The Hungarian uprising was just one of these, although probably the one that got the most traction. All up, there were something like 50 countries, including the Austrian Empire itself, which Hungary was a part of. So in addition to the Hungarian uprising, there was also an uprising within Austria as well. Just concentrating on Hungary, what happened? What pictures come to mind? I think this is one of the most popular ones. Petőfi, along with the youth, the intelligentsia, marching through Pest, declaiming his poetry, the Nemzeti Dal, and the 12 points that must be met. The people followed him, and the Austrian monarch crumbled. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty unlikely. At the same time, or actually before the uprising in Pest, there was a delegation in Austria meeting with Ferdinand. I've spent some time trying to track down exactly who was in this delegation. I can tell you that it was definitely led by Lajos Kossuth, but there were something like 100 other people involved. Basically, they were representatives of the lower house of the Diet. A Diet is just like a parliament, only different. When they arrived, Vienna itself had already been in turmoil for 2 days. Ferdinand wasn't the strongest of people. Kossuth was described by many as a bully and a blackmailer. It was the delegation that got the agreement for Hungarian independence. And it was based on 12 points. Now, this is actually an actual image of the 12 points. The delegation had a copy effectively of the same stuff. And it had all the simple things. You'll see the call at the end: equality, liberty, brotherhood. And if those of you who have studied European history might think it sounds an awful lot like the French cry. And the French Revolution definitely impacted the Hungarian Revolution. The things they asked for were the freedom of press, an independent Hungarian government, civil and religious equality before the law. Remember that at the time, Hungary was a feudal country. The nobility had lots of privileges and very little duties. Taxation, for example, was one area where the nobles didn't exactly pull their weight. And also they wanted their own army, settings free of political prisoners, and a union with Transylvania, Arad. Arad has been a part of Hungary in and out over 1,000 years. So who wrote the 12 points? Many people will tell you immediately it was Sándor Petőfi. You know, he of wandering around Pest, declaring and declaiming. This happened on the 15th of March, the key date. He didn't write them though. It was written by a journalist, József Érányi. The written copy by him was completed on the 12th of March, 3 days before Petőfi, and just before the delegation went to Vienna. Did he come up with them by himself? Well, no. They were based on a speech by Lajos Kossuth on the 3rd of March, which he gave to the lower house, which was the trigger for the delegation going to Vienna. And Kossuth himself was basing this on debates that had happened within the Diet for decades. The outcome of the delegation was the creation of a new government of Hungary, and it's named after the guy who was the leader of the House at the time, Matheny, and he became the first Prime Minister of Hungary. This was on the 17th of March, just 2 days after the so-called People's Revolution. Things don't happen that fast, honestly. And even quicker, following right on its heels, were the April Laws. This is the basis of the constitution of the modern Hungarian state. It was accepted on the 7th of April. It was formally signed on the 11th. It has 31 articles. I've picked out some of the most interesting. The first one, the abolition of serfdom, was a key point, and in those days, just as today, it was leaked before the official signing. This constitution also gave Hungarians the widest suffrage rights in Europe at the time. It was based on just on property and educational qualifications. You could vote if you had a high school diploma. It also gave equality to all religions, which was not the case in most of Europe. And the interesting thing I found was that they changed the official language to Hungarian. Before this, it was German. There we are, a thumbnail sketch of the beginnings of the Hungarian Revolution. After this, things started to get a bit sticky, and by October next year, it was all over. But this was the beginning of a state that was one of the most liberal inside Europe, that gave Hungarian people, no matter what their ethnicity, their religion, or their social status, equality before the law. I can understand why Hungarians celebrate it to this day.
Esküszünk, hogy rabok tovább nem leszünk.